Plants take the nutrients they need from the soil. In turn, they are eaten by herbivores, which in turn are eaten by carnivores. This has been going on for hundreds and thousands of years. How does this keep going on? Shouldn't the nutrients in soil run out after some time, leading to an extinction of plants and therefore the animals that depend on them? How come this doesn't happen? Fortunately, soil doesn't run out of nutrients if nature is left to itself. Nature is a wonderful web of relationships that support each other. What plants and animals withdraw from the bank called soil, they also deposit back into the bank at some point of time. Thus, there is a healthy balance in the soil bank account, and they or their descendants can therefore continue to make withdrawals over a long period of time. Plants and animals also need water, and left to themselves, they have ways to help the soil and the ground to preserve clean water that comes from rainfall or other sources. Before we look at how soil doesn't run out of nutrients in the natural course of events, let us first understand what soil is. Soil is formed through the weathering of rock over long periods of time. It also has organic or carbon based content which have come into it from the remains of plants and animals. Finally, a lot of soil is actually living. It is teeming with small animals like earthworms and many microorganisms. The topsoil contains most of the living part of soil, and the subsoil has many minerals. In this discussion, we do not talk much about layers below the subsoil, as plant roots do not go lower than the subsoil. Now let's look at how soil is preserved over a period of time. How come topsoil does not get carried away by wind or rain or water into rivers, streams, and the ocean? And how is it that soil continues to have nutrients and water over long periods of time, which allows it to keep supporting plants and animals? The undergrowth in a forest or in a grassland, it binds the soil together. It also protects the soil from the direct effects of sun, water, and wind, which could blow off the topsoil or run off the topsoil into streams. Also, the plant litter in the ground breaks the rainfall into thin films of water. Earthworms, many burrowing animals, and literally millions of microorganisms are actively moving through the soil, ingesting various other small animals or other microbes in the soil, and their action and movement actually creates air spaces. Humus, which is the organic matter in soil, it helps the soil to clump and form into aggregates or lumps, and this creates kind of porosity in the soil. This porosity is a very important property of good soil. Porosity does two things for soil. One is it provides air spaces, and air is very important because roots need oxygen as well as all the other living organisms inside soil. Porosity also helps with the way water flows through soil, which we will look at through a very interesting video next. In the video, you will see how water runs off the surface of different types of soil. You will also see how water flows through the soil and collects as groundwater for different types of soil. Watch on.
We have 300 milliliters of water that is going to be introduced to 1,000 grams of soil. Here is the simulated rainfall. Okay, do you see that we're having runoff now? And this runoff is actually showing the erosion of the soil particles. And we're going to see somewhat different effect when we have organic soil related to the increased organic matter. You see that there is some runoff occurring, but the runoff is much clearer and there's more water that is being absorbed into the soil. When we add compost to the organic soil, the loss is less than 100. When we have the mulch and the organic system and compost, there's more water that is being absorbed into the soil. Now you see how clear the water is here. As we improve the soil, we get much less runoff. One of the ways of avoiding catastrophic floods is by improving our soil. Now we are going to take these beakers out and we're going to show you what's happening below the surface. If we look at the bottom of our containers, we see that actually there's no water that runs through the conventional soil, so that you're not getting anything that could be supplying the aquifers, the water storage that is underground, or the surface rivers because of the poor nature of the soil. But as we use these organic soil methods and we create an organic soil, what we see is that we're getting not only less water loss on the surface, but we're getting water charge in the subsurface, which is feeding our aquifers and our surface streams. So this is very good for our natural resources, and most of our water come from underground water sources.
In the video, we saw how the right kind of soil helps us to get clean groundwater, as well as how it helps us prevent catastrophic floods by slowing down the rate of runoff on the soil. Now, let us look at how nutrients do not get depleted in the soil. That was the first question we asked when we started this lecture. Minerals are normally found in the subsoil, and plant roots absorb these minerals, and these minerals are taken to the leaves of the plants through transpiration currents. How come these nutrients do not get depleted? In a forest, there are many species of plants and many species of animals, and they produce vegetable and animal residue. The fungi and bacteria on the forest floor convert these into humus. Humus is organic matter which is decomposing very, very slowly. And over a period of time, the humus returns minerals to the subsoil. Now let's take a quick look at the entire system. So you have the forest canopy and undergrowth, providing the ground litter, protecting the soil from direct sun, water and wind. You have earthworms, other burrowing animals and microorganisms, which are helping to create pores in the soil. Humus, which is itself coming from plant and animal residue, is further helping this soil to clump in the form of aggregates. And all of this is helping to seep clean, clear water down into groundwater and streams. So, this is how nature preserves itself, soil being helped to preserve itself by plants and animals, providing further to plants nutrients, allowing the survival of animals. Everything is balanced and works beautifully.